What's going on, everybody? AOTHER back with another of my 10-year anniversary videos. This one's on the Order 1886. Very divisive game, but very near and dear to my heart. It's one of my actual favorite PlayStation exclusives ever. So in this video, we're going to kind of switch it up. We're going to celebrate the game's 10-year anniversary, but we're also going to be talking about how I believe it's not a tech demo, and I'm sure there's quite a few out there that believe the same as me. Shout out Jake Baldino. But anyway, I was gonna put this video out like quite a bit later in the year because so many games came out in 2015, and more on that a little bit later. But this game kind of resurfaced in the news this past week, and some of the original dev team, or I think it maybe just was one person, kind of like confirmed the truth of like what the plans were for the series, and it was planned to have two sequels. The Order, I believe it was 1891, and then the Order 1899, and the second one had actually already started development. As opposed to what we've heard before, to where Sony denied the pitch for the sequel. But anyway, back to the anniversary part. The game starts off. You play as his name's Gray, but he's one of the Knights of the Round Table. It's an alternate, steampunkish Victorian London era where the King Arthur's Knights, are part of a secret-ish group called the Order, and they try to keep supernatural things away from the public eye. This game heavily, the only real supernatural thing we see in this game are werewolves. But if you know the ending, you know how much more we could have gotten if you played the game. I don't really want to spoil it, but first of all, this game, if you played it now and never played it before, you wouldn't believe that this is 10 years old. That's first and foremost, and that's what the game is mainly known for, is its visual fidelity. And matter of fact, Sony was pushing Ready at Dawn so hard to make that number one priority was the visuals, that they had to sacrifice a few things. And that right there, another main character, that's Lady Igraine, from the Knights of the Round. And then that Gray, his name is Galahad. So if you're familiar with the old Knights of the Round Table, not the names of the knights, they're more of like titles than they are actual names. And these aren't the originals either. They're like, they get the title passed down to them, although some of them are centuries old, and the reason that they're able to live so long is because King Arthur found the Holy Grail. And while it doesn't give you immortality, it makes you live much longer, and if you sustain like serious injuries drinking from the vial, which each knight has in their possession, heals your wounds like pretty rapidly. So that's kind of the gist of the lore, the basis of the storyline. He's in jail, and then he kind of escapes, and it goes back about, I believe it's like a month earlier, and you get to see the events leading up to why he was arrested in the first place. Along the way, you'll see other knights. Percival is kind of like a mentor to Galahad. There's a French guy named Marquis, he's a great character. Love his character. He's currently like a rookie or like a apprentice of Galahad's. So he doesn't have a title in the beginning of the game. But anyway, so the gist of the game, I mean, it absolutely is gorgeous. Like, and it delivers a cinematic experience with the gameplay that not a lot of games, even to this day, have achieved. That right there is really cool. It's kind of like a Deadeye, but more like you get a few shots off, and then you switch your targets, and then it kills them like you just seen. Now this is your first confrontation with a werewolf, and I gotta say, still to this day, I don't think I've seen a better transition in a game from a man turning to wolf, or even like cinema, really, to be quite honest. And these parts were kind of heavily criticized. I enjoyed them, but they were also frustrating until you get the hang of them. Basically, there's a couple of werewolves, and they kind of like hide from you and attack. Like, and you gotta hit X to dodge, or else you can get overwhelmed pretty quickly. Now, the cool thing is, once you take them down, you're able to kind of run up and finish them off with your knife, and then they kind of transform. Or this guy, that was the last one. So this is more like a scripted, like you're chasing after him. He's gotten away, and their fear of him getting to street level and people seeing him. And that's why she gives him the good old art gun here, which is like the most powerful weapon in the game. But yeah, their job is to keep the order of the half breeds at bay from the public, and to fight against rebels. There's like a rebel faction in the game. But I mean, if you just look at how cinematic this is, like 10 years ago, I mean, come on, like games today can't even like put up with this. And this part's really cool right here. He's out on the street. Kind of that seamless transition from gameplay to cutscene is all over this place. Then we have my favorite character in the game, which is a real person in real life, Nikola Tesla, voiced by, and I actually just found this out, Yuri Lowenthal, who obviously is PlayStation Spider-Man. So I didn't even know that, because I looked up the cast, because I always felt that this game had very, very strong writing and acting. So I was like, I wonder who the cast is. Maybe it's people I know. I mean, he was kind of really the only one. Laura Bailey's in there, but she's only in there for additional voices, which is crazy to think about, because she's like literally like the most famous female actor in video games, and one of the best. But anyway, this is kind of like, he plays like a role of like Q, like let's say like 007, right? He kind of plays the Q role, where he's using his advanced technology to create things for the Order, weapons, gadgets, things of that nature. So everything that you see the Order using that you wouldn't think was around, well, it wasn't around in 1886. Some of it not even around today, but it was created by Nikola there. And then even his lab in this scene like plays out kind of like a classic James Bond. What new stuff do you got for me? Really cool rifle, which is also used for one of the better sniping gameplay sections I've ever played, other than anything with the title sniper in it. But yeah, he's sort of like the Q character. Actually, there's a lot of 007 style. It takes place in London. You're part of kind of an advanced, off-the-record organization going on secret missions. There's actually a lot of James Bond carryover in these, which, I mean, can't go wrong if you're a Bond fan. And speaking of fans, I feel like I give this game maybe a little too much love, because I feel like it was made for me. Like, I love Victorian London is one of my favorite time periods. And you can see here I put this shot in here because this is to prove like he walked up the roof with a shotgun, and that was the weapon I currently had equipped in gameplay, along with this Easter egg of Sackboy there. So you could tell that like it's no bells and whistles. Like the gameplay is running. Here we have the what's it called? The thermite cannon, which is one of the craziest weapons ever. But back to my original point, you can tell that like the cutscenes and gameplay were running exactly at the same time. There's no bells and whistles at all used here. The thermite cannon can also be used to kind of get through some tough spots, which is pretty cool. And then we got to see Percival take his Blackwater because he got nicked in the neck by a bullet there. So it's also a gameplay function. If you go down, you get like, if you can survive long enough, you can like drink out of the Blackwater and like kind of recover yourself and move positions and stuff. There's some light traversal mechanics, nothing too crazy, but the lighting effects, I mean, the way that everything is shot, it's super cinematic. Even though there is a HUD, and if you watch my previous videos, if possible, you know, I play on console mostly. PC with mods or like console commands, you can like remove HUDs and stuff. But like I'm mainly a console PlayStation player, so I immediately check like what HUD options can I remove, right? And there's no options here, I don't believe. But one thing, like I noticed while filming the footage for this video, the HUD isn't intrusive like at all. Like you can't even. It's almost like you can't even see your weapon and ammo counter like at the bottom right because your focus is elsewhere. And I love the widescreen presentation. You can see Galahad using his Blackwater here because he got pretty banged up by this werewolf. This is it's not it's not a pureblood. It's still a half breed, but it's probably an older one because this is like a boss fight, right? So you have two werewolf encounters. You have your standard one you've seen before where there's like multiple weaker ones running around, and then you have these and there's only like two, I think, of these fights against like higher lichens, older, more like, and they speak, you know, they're not feral. But I will say one of the negative things said about the game, other than the length, and we'll talk a bit more on that in a moment, was the boss encounters feeling like repetitive, which I totally get that, and I do agree, but they are choreographed differently. You know, there's some special environmental like hits as you get farther and make the enemy weaker. I quite enjoyed these boss fights because they were different. They're kind of hard to like get the hang of at first and the dodging, but once you get the hang of it, it becomes like real visceral and cinematic and just really, really cool. But I can get why it was kind of like hated on in a way. But like I said, there's really only two of them, and they're both different. So back to the length. I think what ultimately made this game be referred to so heavily as a tech demo is the runtime. So what I did was I went on How Long to Beat to check on this game, and I wanted to use an example of this versus like let's Uncharted, the first one, Drake's Fortune, right? Nobody ever called Uncharted, the first one, a tech demo, even though it broke ground technically at the time. It was more well received. It got, I think, on Metacritic it's like at an 84. This is like at a 64. And they're only, if you believe How Long to Beat on How Long to Beat website, it has Uncharted 8 to 10 hours, and it has this at 7 hours. Now, some people have probably beaten it a lot quicker than that. I've heard people say it's only 4 hours, 5 hours. Well, the first time I played this, it took me about 7 to 8 hours, and that's because like when I play a game that I'm waiting for a long time, I try to take in as much of it as possible, and this game completely like sucked me in. I think I beat it in one playthrough, but it still took me like 7 to 8 hours. You know, it was like on a weekend or whatever. And I just was so sucked into the game, I didn't want to put it down. And same thing with Uncharted. I love Uncharted, but it's blossomed into a whole. Technically, there's what 6 games total, Uncharted. But that first game though was very similar to this, very linear, repetitive combat, which I don't really think this game is that much repetitive. There's a ton of weapons in this game. There's 4 different pistols, 3 different assault rifles, 2 different shotguns, 2 different snipers, and then all the order weapons. Like the thermite cannon, the lightning rifle. There's a grenade launcher later. There's a ton of weapons in this game. So if you mix up your guns, it can feel very different. Your experience versus my experience. So I don't like to say the combat is repetitive. It's a third-person linear shooter. I mean, what's wrong with that? Uncharted, same thing. Uncharted is one of my favorite franchises of all time, and now, had this game ran a little longer, it probably would have garnered somewhere more in the 70s. Because I did read how many, or I counted how many above 8s this had on Metacritic, and it had 20 scores from critics above 8. So I think if they would have not been rushed by Sony, which they definitely were, which makes no sense because if you look back at 2015 and all the exclusives Sony came out with that year. I don't see what the rush was. So they should have let Ready at Dawn cook a little bit more and add what they wanted to add in and not cut it out. And I think we're sitting on a franchise right now. You know what I'm saying? And this is I'm gonna stop speaking for a moment, and I want you guys to listen to this dialogue to prove that it's really, really good.
Incalculable damage done to United India Company property. It is only by the mercy of Providence that an even greater disaster was avoided. All this while not a single rebel was taken into custody. On the contrary, by their rogue actions, the knights in question may have done the enemy a great service.
The Lord Chancellor perhaps speaks too harshly. He would do well to remember that Sir Percival's force did uncover evidence of a rebel effort against the...
Circumstantial evidence. Mere supposition, all of which resulted in a deplorable calamity. I will hear no more of the matter.
With respect, Lord Chancellor.
Sit down, Sir Galahad!
With respect! I, too, have lost a friend. More than a friend. A brother. You do great wrong to sully his name in such a manner.
You dance on the very edge of insubordination, Sir Knight.
I am apprehensive of my responsibility in this affair. Yet if the same circumstances should present themselves, I would do exactly as I have done. As Mallory wished.
My lords! Sirs! The rebels have ambushed Lord Hastings' carriage. He and his escort are trapped on the Westminster Bridge.
Alright, so that was just one scene I felt like was really strong, and they're all of that quality, the cutscenes. I just wanted you to see how good the writing and acting was there. That was, the old man was, Alistair is his name, and he's like the leader, I guess, of the order. He's no longer in the field. But his code, his title is that of Lancelot, which is like basically, depending on what King Arthur's story you believe, Lancelot was like the leader of the knights. Now here we get to see another awesome weapon, the crossbow, and there is some like stealth in this game too, and I feel like it's really good. Like there's multiple takedown animations. It cuts like to like movie quality almost with like different angles and stuff. And in some games that would bother me. In this game, it just felt natural. But anyway, back to what I was saying before. If if Ready at Dawn wasn't pushed by, I feel like the downfall of this game was all Sony's fault. And I'm a Sony freak, right? But I if it's a duck, it's a duck, right? And Sony pushed Ready at Dawn to make this certain deadline, which was in early 2015. But I don't know what they were so like why they pushed that deadline so hard. So many good games came out that year, and that was kind of like during the era of like everybody expected these like 20-hour open world, like much like it is now. Open worlds games were at an all-time high during that time. Well, let me just name a few the games that came out that year, and you'll be probably shocked. Witcher 3, Batman Arkham Knight, Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Tomb Raider, Rise of the Tomb Raider, and I'm not reading off a list. I like have these ingrained in my memory. And then on the PlayStation side, you had this, but then you also had Bloodborne, and there was like two more PlayStation. Oh, Yakuza 0, and at least one more PlayStation exclusive came out that very year. Not to mention Metal Gear Solid 5. I mean, Mad Max. I mean, this was just, I think Grand Theft Auto 5 got like re-released for the PS4 and Xbox One. Like, this year was huge. So I don't know why that Sony pushed this so hard. If they would have gave it another year, delayed it, gave it another year, and let Ready at Dawn actually finish it. And not to mention, they had already, had already started production on multiplayer for this game. So if you add a couple of hours of story and have a multiplayer component, this game is getting rated probably in the high 80s, which would have guaranteed a sequel. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's kind of what the news is lately, is that they were just pushed to release it when they really truly didn't feel ready. They felt confident in the graphics and the presentation, but they wanted the runtime to be longer. They wanted to not have. I mean, I guess the game it is known for having like a cliffhanger ending, but it could also be, it could be like The Last of Us, right? Like, that the first time you played that and beat it, that could be all we get, but you also know that you can do way more with it, right? The same thing with this one, the way that it ends. And I'm not going to give away the ending for those of you that haven't played it, but very much so, this could have been a bona fide trilogy. And like I said earlier, Part 2 was already in development, and Sony made them scrap it, and Ready at Dawn hasn't done crap since. And they sold them off, and then now they're closed down. So it's like, it's all Sony's fault, in my opinion. Maybe, if anything, Ready at Dawn was like taking too long. But when you're demanded to make a game this high a quality of presentation, and the way that it ran, and the graphics, like, this is stuff that was unseen, even on like high-end PCs at the time. So you can't really like put it all on Ready at Dawn. Not to mention, this is their first AAA title, so I think they did a damn good job. I love the game. It sucks we're not going to get any more, but at the same time, this game will forever like hold a special place in my heart. And that was the original purpose of this video, and I just kind of wanted to shed some light on, it's not a tech demo, it's just a short video game. If you know the actual definition of a tech demo, then you would know that this is not that. It has great performances, wonderful set pieces, really cool level design, excellent graphics, fun gameplay, gunplay, just everything, you know, is good. It's just time ran out too quickly, and that's sad. But anyway, I just wanted to celebrate the game and maybe bring some people that haven't given it a try, given its bad reputation, shed some light on it. Maybe just the footage here, or me kind of talking about it, like maybe it'll entice you. It's always cheap, always on sale. And that, you know, too, that's another thing. If PlayStation would have just been transparent, like they're starting to become, and price this thing as at what it was, you know, maybe a $40 game, a smaller, and just been honest from the get-go. Hey, look, this is a 5 to 7 hour game, super cinematic. It's $40. I think a lot of people might have not been so harsh on it, which would have helped the future of the franchise, which we don't have a franchise, sadly. So anyway, coming to a close here. Those are my thoughts. Happy 10-year anniversary, Order. Wish you deserved more. If you're new here and you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing. And for all of you other supporters that are back to watch this video, as many comments and likes are much appreciated. And I'll let this last kind of gameplay play out, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Applewoski out.
Son of a whore.